Tiger-Heli was one of those games I got as a kid out of nowhere as a gift one Christmas without ever asking for it. I'd never even heard of Tiger-Heli, so I can't say I was super stoked to ever play it. But play it I did because, well, it was one of the few NES games I ever owned. Owning a game for me back then was pretty rare, so even if I wasn't enthralled with it, I still pored over it with hands that would make any archaeologist proud. It was certainly a much better surprise than the game I got the following year. We'll get to that one later. Tiger-Heli originally came out in 1985 in the arcades, but even back then it was usually surrounded by far more popular games of the time. It was never anything that kids were running to play first when they got to the arcade. Instead, it was more like that one game you played on your last quarter and was ready to go home anyway. That didn't stop it from coming over to the NES though, where it found a pretty comfortable home. Tiger-Heli is essentially just a top-down shooter. There's nothing special about it at all, except for the fact that you could blow up houses and other stuff on the ground for points. Even as a kid though, I thought this was a pretty huge asshole move. The houses and ships never once shoot at you, and there could very well be innocent people in those houses, living out their daily lives unaware that a murderous chopper was about to snuff out their entire existence for a few hundred points. Yes, I was genuinely concerned about such things as a kid. Yes, I also needed to go outside more. Gameplay in Tiger-Heli is as basic as it looks. You can shoot forward and drop a limited number of bombs to clear a path when things get too crazy. And at certain points in the game you can also collect smaller helicopters to fly by your side, allowing you to have a much larger firing range in front of you. This came as a double-edged sword though, as it made you a much larger target, so I wouldn't get too used to having them around for very long. By far the best thing about them mainly being that they gave you an extra defensive hit. Without them you go down if one bullet hits you. Tack on 2 of these little guys and you can dish out punishment knowing that you can take 3 whole bullets before your fiery demise. Beyond that, the only notable thing about Tiger-Heli was that it was brutally hard. That's not a big thing, as the majority of every shooter ever made is completely impossible for me to beat. But the problem with Tiger-Heli being that it took absolutely forever to ramp up to that difficulty. What this produced was me being able to cakewalk through 15 minutes of the game only to be completely decimated by a developer that suddenly remembered games are supposed to be challenging at some point. This drove me absolutely mad about Tiger-Heli since I had to sit through dozens of minutes of almost nothing happening just to get to the parts that killed me. And there was no accelerator on that chopper either. No, you had to wait patiently as the screen scrolled ever so slowly to get wherever it wanted you to go. Regardless, Tiger-Heli isn't a bad game. I remember playing it a lot as a kid, and it was never a go-to game or anything like that, but I always pulled it out if I wanted a few minutes of shooty helicopter fun. My biggest problem being that it just takes its sweet time to get rolling. And hell, as a kid that was worried about imaginary people in a house in a video game that didn't even exist, I had plenty of time on my hands, so I guess that wasn't that big of a problem. So if you want to take a look at the early days of NES shooters, you could do far worse than Tiger-Heli. Definitely check it out.